You have nothing to lose. Don't be afraid. Subscribe to the channel to be with us. Enter the door of this channel that shares dark and scary stories.
On a night when the sandstorm never ceased, Dr. Alan Carter and his team were conducting research deep in the heart of Egypt, in an area no one had ever excavated before. Their maps indicated that an ancient secret had been buried right here. But what they didn't know was, this excavation would change human history forever. When they began digging, they expected to find the remains of an ordinary tomb or temple. But soon they discovered a hidden passage beneath the ground. The walls of the passage were unlike any known Egyptian structure. There were no hieroglyphs, no symbols of the pharaohs. And as they dug further, a staircase leading downward was revealed, a massive tunnel descending beneath the pyramids. The team put on their oxygen tanks and began their descent. 20 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters deep. They found themselves in a chamber where time seemed to stand still. In the center of the room, there was a stone tablet that sent chills down their spines. The inscriptions resembled Egyptian hieroglyphs, but there was a problem. These writings didn't belong to any known Egyptian language. As Dr. Carter and his team examined the stone slab, they realized they might have uncovered a terrifying truth. The inscriptions read, "We came here. This was our final destination, but you must not forget us. We descended from the stars, and one day we shall return." Everyone looked at each other. Were the Egyptians not from this world? But the most shocking discovery was on the back of the tablet. The carved figures, tall, slender beings with large eyes. They did not resemble the deities depicted in traditional Egyptian art. They were identical to the extraterrestrial beings described throughout history. As the team stared in disbelief at the inscriptions, the stone door at the end of the tunnel suddenly began to tremble. It was as if something inside was trying to open. Suddenly, whispers began to echo from behind the door, whispers in a language they didn't understand, yet felt as if it was speaking directly into their ears. Dr. Carter and his team attempted to back away, but one of the archaeologists, driven by curiosity, reached out and touched the door. And in that moment, everything changed. The door swung open with a thunderous noise, and from within, a blinding blue light poured out. Inside was an enormous chamber. It looked ancient, yet it was filled with technology far beyond anything Egypt should have possessed. In the center of the room, a massive stone pillar was floating in midair, defying gravity. The walls glowed with unknown symbols, and inside there were mummified bodies, but they were not human. One of the team members dropped to their knees and whispered, "This is impossible. How do we explain this?" But the most terrifying thing was a gigantic hieroglyph carved into the ceiling of the room. This symbol was designed to be visible only from the stars. Just then, the compass one of the team members was holding began spinning wildly. It was as if they were inside a magnetic field. Another member tried to contact the surface through the radio, but all signals were completely cut off. Standing at the doorway, Dr. Carter took a step forward and noticed shadows shifting beneath the ground. The shadows belonged to an enormous figure. It resembled the deities the Egyptians worshipped, but it had no face. In that moment, the symbols on the walls began to glow. Something had been activated. And then, the most horrifying thing happened. The seemingly empty sarcophagi inside the room began to move. The mummies slowly sat up, their eyes flickering back to life, and they began to walk toward the team. Panic erupted as everyone tried to flee, but the massive door slammed shut with a deafening boom. One of the archaeologists screamed, "This is not their tomb, this is their awakening chamber." Those who managed to escape looked around and realized one of their team members were no footprints, no sound of movement, just a massive hole in the ground where they had stood, and the hole looked as if something had pulled them in. The only survivor of the excavation was Dr. Carter. He tried to tell his story, but no one believed him. All reports were confiscated by the Egyptian government. The site of the excavation was permanently sealed off. It was never made public. But the biggest question remains unanswered. Why were the homes of the Egyptians never found? Maybe they didn't belong to this world. And maybe the pyramids were not just tombs, but a beacon calling for their return.